resources, predation, and competition keep other species within the carrying capacities of their habitats. For example, if we look at this graph on the pronghorn antelope, we see that the population size fluctuates. Only the animals having characteristics suited to the changing limiting factors within their environment will reproduce successfully. Humans, on the other hand, have been able to modify their environment. Advances in science and technology have allowed human population to extend their lifespans by decreasing infant mortality and increasing natality. All these factors have resulted in unprecedented numbers of people, a phenomenon not common to other populations in nature. You know, so far it seems that we can predict population growth patterns, but you said yes and no before.
Well, we can predict population growth up to a point, but there are some populations that just don't seem to follow the rules. There's a theory that explains why nature is often unpredictable. It has a really great name. It's called chaos theory.
Sounds like the inside of my locker.
That's not chaos, that's catastrophe.
So, what is this chaos theory anyways?
Well, how about the two of you doing some research on that? What I would like you to do is concentrate on the implications of chaos on population growth and predictions.
Chaos theory explains why it's almost impossible to predict the path of a water droplet on the back of your hand. The droplet is affected by so many factors: the tilt of the hand, hairs on its surface, and even the blood flow under the skin.
So what did you find out about chaos theory?
I found an article on the internet called What is Chaos Theory?
Can you summarize it?
Sure. First, the chaos theory is based on the study of nonlinear systems.
What are nonlinear systems?
Well, they're anything that interact with a lot of different factors that occur in no predictable sequence.
So we could say then that populations are nonlinear systems?
Yeah, because there are all sorts of different factors to include. It's complex, it's nonlinear.
So it's not quite so easy to predict population growth. Abiotic and biotic factors that interact with the organisms could influence the rate of growth.
Yeah, because if any of these factors were changed, then the results could be completely different.
That has a name.
Yeah, it's called the butterfly effect. If you take a leaf traveling down a stream and try to predict its exact path, there's no way. The tiniest shift in a leaf's position can completely change its course. Even something that might seem unrelated can have an effect. A butterfly flapping its wings might scare a frog that jumps into the water, causing a ripple that moves the leaf. You could have never predicted that this would happen just at the moment when the leaf was passing by, therefore changing its direction.
Right, and its scientific name is sensitivity to initial condition. Now, can we apply chaos theory to population systems?
Yes, populations are very sensitive to initial conditions.
That's right. Any small change in the environmental factors could lead to a completely different outcome from anything that was predicted. This graph shows how sensitive the growth of a population is to the initial conditions. The minute difference of 0.3% in this hypothetical fish population is amplified by other factors as the population grows. Any small changes lead to bigger changes later. This makes it really difficult to predict how a complex system will behave. In a real population, there are so many factors that interact, making really accurate predictions of growth nearly impossible.
Okay, back to our original statement. In order to predict population growth, none of the factors affecting that population can change over time. Is that a realistic expectation?
I don't think so. I mean, what if the weather changes? Like, say there's a dry spell that wipes out all the vegetation.
Or if there's competition or predation.
Exactly. Any of these things would change the rate of growth and affect all our calculations.
So why do ecologists spend all this time studying populations?
Well, it's not impossible to predict population growth. What chaos theory does is it provides an explanation of why some populations don't follow the rules. What we need to do now is talk to an expert on the subject.
Chaos theory provides a very compact and different sort of explanation. It says that we can actually explain the entire range of dynamics that we see stable, cyclical, and apparently random fluctuations in populations with one compact description, in which the environment is not varying. That is, the explanations that are provided by chaos theory provide a deterministic explanation that doesn't need to take into account environmental variability. The actual variability in the populations is internally generated via the nonlinear interactions that are occurring among individuals. If the principal cause of the fluctuations in the populations is because of varying environmental conditions, then one obvious experiment is to take and try to raise the population that you're studying under relatively controlled conditions, that is, try to remove the source of environmental variability and observe whether or not you get a subsequent change in dynamics. We start replicate populations at one point in time, and we vary by a small amount the initial conditions of the population, that is, the initial density or the size structure, the age structure of the populations. And then we compare the dynamics of these replicate populations that are started under very, very similar initial conditions as to how those dynamics evolve over time. Do the dynamics remain relatively similar to one another, or do you get dramatic divergence in dynamics? If you get considerable divergence in dynamics, then that would suggest that a possible explanation is underlying chaotic dynamics. Of course, these experiments, although they sound easy to do, when we're dealing with natural populations such as insects, fish populations, birds, mammals, and so on, they're often very, very difficult to actually perform either in natural systems or under controlled laboratory conditions. And that's one of the challenges that faces ecologists to try and test the application of chaos theory to understanding the range of dynamics that we see in natural systems. Two areas that chaos theory might be applied in helping us understand aspects of human population might be in helping us understand how social organizations operate. Another area that might be important is not necessarily studying the human population itself, but the disease organisms that affect human populations.
You know, I kind of wonder if this is really going to be a good spot for us to go fishing. If we did a population count, and that would be N, then we'd need to figure out what the mortality and the natality of this population would be.
And because it's an open population, we need to figure out immigration and emigration. And with that information, we could calculate delta N.
And if we had delta N and N, then we could calculate the population growth. Delta N times 100 divided by N.
Yeah, that would tell us how much the population would be in the future.
You know, I think it's going to take us a really long time to figure out what the population of the fish is going to be.
And we haven't taken chaos theory into account either.
I think if we expect to get any fish at all to eat tonight, we're going to have to go to a fish market.
Our knowledge of population size and growth patterns has application for all of us in our daily lives. Humans harvest other populations for survival. Natural populations of plants and animals provide food, building materials, and sources of energy.
Until recently, the human population of our planet was small, and the harvesting of natural resources was modest. We didn't have a huge impact on the organisms with whom we've shared this space. However, a recent explosion of human numbers and the advanced technologies used to harvest organisms have placed some species in danger of extinction. If we're going to maintain the biodiversity of our planet, it's crucial that we enhance our understanding of population dynamics and management for the sake of all of us and our future.